Anin indinaway maganadak nigagoyget magas bine sequay to go makwendo deum gababani kag ishkana ganing and dunjiba migwich. Thank you very much again for the honor of being here tonight, and with great gratitude to the Lannan Foundation. And there are many people out there that I know, and I am always grateful to come here to this territory, because I will tell you that I learned a great deal when I came here as a young woman. I came here first in 1978, and I worked for the New Mexico Indian Environmental Education Project in John Redhouse. And we worked on uranium mining. At the time, they were trying to expand dramatically the number of uranium mines in this area. There was 44 uranium mines and 10 uranium mills. And I came down as a young, kind of geeky woman from Harvard I was kind of an energy geek. You know, I don't know how, it's a long story how I got that, but I came down and I said, I want to work for these people. And in my life down here, you know, as a young woman, the Dene people, the Pueblo people took very good care of me, and I will be forever indebted to them for what they have added to my humanity and to my instructions as a person to do the best you can. So thank you again for inviting me here. As I reflected on what I would say as I came to be with you today, I just want to start by saying that I began to find my voice as a writer at Garcia's Kitchen in Albuquerque. That is to say that, you know, as a grassroots community organizer, you know, I think Ida Gordon is here. I slept on her couch. I slept on John Redhouse's couch. You know, this was the late 70s, American Indian movement. You know, it was very influential in my training and in my upbringing. You know, I always value my Harvard education, my time at MIT, but I value more my indigenous education. Whether it was the political knowledge I gained from the state and the lay of the land, being a young woman coming into this time, and the time of the Farmington riots and the treatment of Dene people, and the time of the American Indian movement. But I spent a lot of time as a young person sleeping on people's couches. And then we had an office that was right across from Garcia's Kitchen on Central. You know, and I don't know, it's still got these bars, and I was really skinny then. I was like 30 pounds lighter because I was 24. So, you know, actually I was like 19, you know, a super skinny little thing. And so for a while I lived in my office. Did any of you ever live in your office before? I live in my office. We were super poor. I live in my office, you know. And so I had all this writing and like all these facts and all these things, and I was trying to figure out how to write in some way. And so I didn't really have any money, so I'd sleep in my office, and sometimes I could slip underneath the bars. That's how skinny I was to get out, you know. And I go and sit in Garcia's Kitchen and drink coffee and eat tortillas for 4 hours or 5 hours, and they put up with me. So I'm saying that because that is perhaps, it is here that I found my voice as a writer. Let me tell you a little bit about the process of consciousness in that. I began to write because I wanted to inform people, because I believe that society, civil society, and democracy is best served by informed people, that we have a right to know what is going on. And all those who are here, we know that often, you know, there's a lot of Kool-Aid that is going around, a lot of people drinking the Kool-Aid. There's a lot of Fox News that goes around. There's a lot of babble, you know. I was thinking about it. I'm writing an article now about simplicity, and I was thinking about, I actually don't know how many Kardashians there are. I'm not sure that it is relevant. But it is still something that you find, like, that is how much babble there is in our society. And it just astounds me. And so, you know, it is hard to be an informed person in this day and age unless you can kind of weed through that. And so, as a young woman at Harvard, I used to work at this place called the Center for Science and International Affairs. And it was pretty much a think tank for the CIA, from what I can figure. I was their librarian. And I would serve these lunches. I would put together these lunches, and these guys would come in from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the Atomic Energy Commission and the International Atomic Energy Commission and the Los Alamos Scientific Labs. And I just remember I would serve these men lunch, and of course it was all white men and I was the brown person, which seems like that's how things are at Harvard, probably still today. So I would bring out the lunch and I'd sit there and then they would let me listen. And I remember my first, I'd say politicization was this moment when these guys were talking about, from Los Alamos, they were talking about a cost-benefit analysis of limited nuclear war. And I thought to myself, now that there's something profoundly wrong about this. Who is in charge of this thinking? And that was kind of my first lead up to the fact we might have some flaws in our democracy. But then I remember these guys from Los Alamos this other time saying this little report, which I'm not sure if the government of New Mexico or other places that still consider uranium mining have been paying attention to, but there was this 1978 study that came out from Los Alamos that said, perhaps the solution to the radon emission problem is to zone the land into uranium mining and milling districts so as to forbid human habitation. Now that would be a very important fact to know, that the government was proposing that as a strategy when Exxon, United Nuclear, and all these oil companies, Kerr McGee, were coming to your territory to propose new uranium mines.
Winona, I wanted to ask you something you had said when we were talking to prepare for this, that you view your writing, you write really only about 3 topics, and they are hope, they are resiliency, and they are land. In many books that I've read and many of the articles that you've written, there's another thread that you didn't say. Maybe it is part of land, maybe it is part of hope, but the spiritual wellspring is what I'm addressing, and I'm so happy to see that the book that you are writing, that you wrote many years ago about the spiritual practices of our indigenous peoples, is now going to be reprinted. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. You talk about ceremony, but how is the spiritual wellspring in terms of your own practice, someone who has done the sweat lodge and many other things as well?
Well, I think that, I am like you. I mean, it's funny, she's talking about Hawaii. So I have to digress. So I go there and I want to go help the Hawaiians, but they don't tell me that the island, you don't get off like the plane with the red carpet. They don't tell me that. Kaho'olawe was bombed by the United States for many years. It's the Hawaiian island that you don't get to see, But through their they've been worked many years. So 78 or 79 is I think when I first went there. And the first accesses were like 74, 75?
Yeah.
They started going there. So what they do, Hawaiians are good swimmers. I'm a lake swimmer. I'm not an ocean swimmer. You get close, and then they basically throw you off the boat, and you have to swim to shore. I was like, so my first time, I'm like, I'm like in a panic, and then I look, and the Hawaiians are kind of like dolphins. They're like cruising along, to get there.